Are you needing to reestablish a meditation practice? This is the episode for you. Welcome to Wednesdays with Willa. I am your host, Willa White, and this is my weekly podcast show that airs on Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern on my Facebook page as well as my YouTube channel. Also goes out on the Lilydale Assembly Facebook page, YouTube channel, and now it's also available wherever you listen to podcasts like Apple, Spotify, all of those great places. So please tune in every week. You can also listen or watch on the replay. And this is a weekly program. We have typically a special guest on the show, and we talk about a topic regarding spiritualism, mediumship, healing, faith, family, or more. And I always enjoy the fact that we're building quite a treasure trove of information and education for people through the years. And I'm always delighted with people who come back onto the show. And we're going to have a very special treat today. I have with me Mark Thomas, who is the co-founder and spiritual teacher at Fellowships of the Spirit. He's been on the program before. We've talked about meditation and the different formats of practice and also how to improve inner silence. But today he's back to help you understand how to reestablish and sustain a meditation practice, something we all need. So thanks for being here today, Mark.
Thank you, Willa. Good to be back with you as well. It's a beautiful. We had some sunny weather here finally. It's starting to feel like spring here in Western New York, and brings the spirits up, doesn't it, so to speak?
Oh, absolutely. All that sunshine, you're just like almost like a desperate for the sunshine, and here it comes. So yes,
Yeah,
I'm
that
definitely
warmth.
part of the grateful brigade of Northerners.
Those of us that don't fly south, right? Yeah.
Exactly. It's one of
Yeah.
those things where I joke that, you better get hardy or get out. That's pretty much your only choice on that. Well,
Mhm.
in terms of meditation practices, sometimes meditation can be very daunting for individuals. Even long-term meditators sometimes fall off the wagon. So don't feel too bad if that's been the case for you. There are problems that sometimes we stumble into with our meditation practice, and those there are emotional or energetic shifts that are happening within people that cause them to drift away from their meditation routine. They might even have a lot of guilt or feel like they're not doing it right. There's the monkey mind that we've talked about in past shows. And I think there's also a myth that people need to have a really long, perfect session for it to have counted as meditation. So I think we're going to blast those things out of the water today, right, Mark?
It's the plan. That's good.
So,
That's good.
what do you think is the real reason that people stop meditating beyond the excuses that they give themselves?
Well, I guess I would say there's no one real reason. It's as varied as there's people that do the practices. Sometimes, and you gave a good list. One thing I would add to that is lifestyle shifts, becoming
Yes.
a parent, going to school and holding down a job, a death in the family, an illness where you're having to be a caregiver and trying to find time in your day to actually take care of yourself too, those kind of things. So there's so many things that can get in our way. Our modern daily life, the life of a householder that we live out here in the world is challenging, and with all of the shifts going on nationally and internationally, and the stresses and strains, we got a significant war going on now that has people concerned. With all those things tugging and pulling at people, we actually need it more, not less. And that's the challenge, is trying to make sure we carve out the space in our lives, the moments where we can actually get into the space of the quiet, the stillness. We actually desperately need it right now.
I mean, there are a lot of reasons that things can disrupt our inner routines, as you said. Grief, stress, change. Just trying to keep up with the normal everyday life. Absolutely, can really be um, causing a lot of that inertia. So you
Yeah,
can't seem to
yeah,
get movement forward in that. But yes, we need it more and more and more.
yeah. So I've been teaching a lot more meditation lately in the last year and a half, 2 years, because people have been seeking it, and so I've done a lot more teaching, and so but the things that come up very often in terms of the meditation, some of those external forces and some of the internal things,
Hmm.
just to the person. And you mentioned some of those too, the expectation of one's meditation, the expectations of oneself. There's just so many things, and there's a lot of misconceptions about what meditation is and is not. So we can spend some time talking about those today, and some of those are very easily remedied and can help you get yourself back on track with something that you know you need, but you also uh, don't need to derail yourself from the inside too. So
Yes, excellent points. And I think there are some beautiful ways to really rebuild a consistent practice. And in terms of rebuilding a practice from scratch, what do you think would help people to return to that?
well, I would say that the first thing to do is, if you had a good practice, just go back to it, start back with it, and roll with it. Now, there's some very key things that I've been teaching, and it's helped people get back into the swing of things again. And so I'll talk about a couple of those. One is what I call the pre-check and the post-check. Sometimes when we sit down to meditate, we just kind of like plop down and here we go. Okay, I'll go through the da 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 da. But there's a couple of the pre-check I think is super important, and that is this: asking yourself, so what am I bringing into the sit this morning? What am I bringing into the sit down? What am I bringing into the space of this meditation? Where do I carry tension in my body right now? Where's my thoughts? Where's my mind? Is it racing? Are my emotions all over the place, or are they pretty, pretty quiet? What's going on with me right now as I sit to meditate? That pre-check is really important. People sometimes don't want to do that because I don't want to pay attention to stuff that's not so good. Well, you kind of need to, and meditation can be a start to the process of going, okay, this is what I'm bringing in. And so you do that quick check. And then I tell people now, so that you can begin to separate yourself from that a bit, do some deep breathing. There are plenty of yogic uh, pranayama exercises and any other deep breathing things that are taught. So do some of that for about a minute or two, because when you change your breath, you change your state of mind.
Hmm.
Every state of mind we have is tied to one of our breath patterns. So when we change that, we change the state of mind we're in. And that allows you to go from paying attention to what's off a bit with your day, or what you're bringing in that's kind of got you distracted or bothered or whatever, helps you kind of separate yourself from that a little bit.
Yeah, I think that you're absolutely right. Having that pre-check is very important. It establishes a baseline. It
It does
establishes
that.
a
Yeah.
baseline so that you can say, okay, I've got this.
Yeah.
But now I know where I need to address something. Like you said, tension in the body is a big reason why sometimes people don't have success in a meditation, because they're actually in a state or a posture of tension.
Yeah. Or just plain wound up about something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So
Yeah. So there's an
the next,
acknowledgement. That's a pre-check is the acknowledgement. Sure.
yeah, it is. It's acknowledgement of the present condition.
Hmm.
And the second step is that breathing. And the third step is getting to a practice where uh, I use with people, I like the one where you're not forcing the mind anywhere, but you create a focal point of some kind and you do an alternation between that focal point and whatever is going on in your body and mind. So it's like a teeter-totter effect, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And what that creates is a settling down and the mind likes to go to where it's more pleasant if it can. And so just by giving it a focal point other than what you've been bringing into the session allows it to alternate between that and whatever it is you brought in. So the focal point and what you brought in is kind of like, it's like, yeah, it's a back and forth. And here's where we get into one of the challenges, Willa, that people think. People think, one, I got to be able to hold concentration the whole meditation. Oh my God, that is so Western and so much work. It's like, that's a guaranteed way to stop meditating and to make yourself miserable at the same time. It's like, no.
So true.
Yeah, that's one of the grand misconceptions. Oh, I got to be able to concentrate all the time and not do this and not do that. It's like, oh, Lord have mercy. Way too much work. So that's one of the first things that we run into with people quite often. Another one is this. Second one that people get into is, oh, I was busy the whole time. My brain was going and this and that and the other. I don't feel like I quieted down and it was just here, there. And so I couldn't possibly have meditated. And that's why we do the pre-check and the post-check.
That's right.
Because you could have one of the most busy freight train buzzing minds the whole time. And you get up afterwards to do the post-check and you go, oh, I do feel better. Even though when I was going through it, I felt like, and you get on the other side of it and you just sit there and you go, oh, okay. So this gets me to one of my marks, only rule that I have about meditation. And that is do not evaluate a meditation while you're in it.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. That's what people do. And as soon as you do that, you are in fact taking yourself out of a meditative process. Because you are a very poor judge of what's going on. It's like trying to put an objective standard on a completely subjective experience.
Right.
And
so the inner critic is supposed to go take a nap for a while.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
analyzer.
Take a break. Yeah.
You don't need to be heckling yourself while you're meditating.
So true. And the other challenge that is presented quite often with people is the immediate, it's a very adult thing to do. Children don't learn this way, but adults do. Adults want to learn and apply.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's a very adult thing. So you almost have to be more childlike when you sit to meditate. It's like you're not doing this to apply it to anything. You're doing it for its own sake. The application will take care of itself while you're out walking around in your daily life, not while you're sitting in the meditation. That's the wrong time to start figuring out where you're going to go. That's a walking about task. That's not for the meditation. And people think they've got it. Well, I got to apply. Like, oh wow, I got this quiet. I got to make sure I carry that into my day. Well, that's your first guarantee. You're not going to be carrying much of anything. So,
what we're trying to establish with most meditation, if it's not a guided journey for, like you said, a purpose, then what you're really trying to do is get yourself shifted into a better state of awareness. I would say a more neutral state, where
actually,
not
neutral in terms of the mind, Willa,
yes,
but not neutral in terms of the effect.
Exactly. It's not neutralizing. It's a neutral state of mind that you're in, where you're not in the judgment zone. And what it does is it can beautifully get you into your prayer practice too. And that prayer force being very much part of life force and settling. Sometimes meditations are there to help you settle, and sometimes meditations are there to help you to energize. And so there are different purposes at different points along the journey of what you're really needing. So there are phases that people will go through naturally, and don't assume that you're doing it wrong because you didn't have this ability to put the check mark in a particular way.
Or set of expectations that were unrealistic as well.
Yes.
That's something people love to do in their outer world, and you bring that practice into your meditation. And it's like you're too busy. Again, you're working too hard at it. deep within all of us is this incredible well of stillness or silence.
Mm.
And it's really us that take leave of it. It never leaves us. And that stillness is profound. Sometimes you settle into it during the meditation, and sometimes you do not. And it doesn't matter whether you do or you do not, because a certain amount of that stillness is going to get up and walk with you through your day, no matter what. And that's a beautiful thing. So you could have a busy freight train minded meditation that doesn't feel like it lets you up for air. And then you could get up and still feel that stillness walking with you for a while anyway, or maybe quite a while in your day. It's hard to say. It depends on the day you're in and what's going on. So these are things that are they're just important. It gets back to me is turn off your evaluator while you're going through it. You got plenty of time to do that all day long.
That's
You can
right.
go
You
back to
can
that. You can go back to that.
analyze it to dust later on.
Mm-hmm.
But
Sure.
I like what you're saying about using the breath. That is an anchor for people in their meditation and in their life. And when you establish a relaxed breath in your in with your meditation or in outside of meditation, if you get it back into that relaxed breath, it's something you can take with you and get right back into a state of awareness that's similar to meditation, a more
Mm-hmm.
relaxed space. So it's about creating space within you with the breath and building of positive energy. And I think, to your point, there's a bit of habit stacking that also has to happen here, right? So that if you get into the habit of doing that pre-flight check, as it were, establishing the baseline, and then next entering in with the breath, and then
Yeah.
easing into the
Mm-hmm.
rest of it.
Yeah.
That's half the battle right there.
Yes. There's an old Persian proverb that I love is well begun is half done. Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
So
there's
in
a couple other things on this front end with I'll go back to the breathing thing for a minute. And this, as it's tied to stillness, what we breathe right through and we don't pay attention to is there is a still point in between our in breath and our out breath. And we don't pay attention to that because we're just kind of busy about our day, right? But when you sit down to pay attention to your breathing as you enter into a meditation and deliberately change your breathing pattern for a little while, I also invite people to pay attention to that still point in between the in and the outflow of the breath. Because in that space is that deep silence. And even if you experience it just for a flash, like I said, it doesn't go anywhere. We leave it. We don't pay attention to it. We don't allow it to come forward. So when the breathing alone can give you that space, that moment, if you will, where you're just going, ah, yes, in and the out. That's right. Very powerful. When we do a meditation later in the program today, we'll mention that. We'll do that. It's kind of neat.
Beautiful.
And you can
Yeah.
also expand that. You can also, once you're aware of that space, you can use that and expand that still point. But that's for another time. So, but yeah, these are things you can do. And the next thing that comes up quite often when I'm working with people is they say, well, I was meditating a lot and I got away from it. And so I started, there's a lot of apps out there now. So I'm using a guided meditations on an app. And they ask me, what do I think about that? I go, they're great. If they work for you to help you get back into the swing of things, go for it. Understand, though, that any stimulation from the outside is a starting point. It's not an ending point.
Hmm. Hmm.
And a starting point is good to have. And it can become a crutch, however, long term. So I invite people to use it to start and continue with, or to help you bring yourself back to meditation practice if it's very useful that way to you.
Hmm.
But then move yourself from that to less and less of the external input, sound, voice, etc., to the internal focal points that you can create. And that can allow you to get deeper and deeper into the interior silence that's there.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. They're useful for certain in certain capacities and getting people jump started again so that they can build some measure of mind focus and concentration and yes, this is what it feels like to relax in a meditation or explore or activate visualization, however that needs to
Mm-hmm.
happen. So initially
Yeah.
it can help certain folks in that regard. And to your point,
Mm-hmm.
I think then there's that, okay, so now how do I go ahead and be alone with my own thoughts and be okay with the default mind,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And then you're able to go ahead and just, as you said, enter the quiet and find that still point.
Yeah. All really, really important. And then the other thing too is the misconception that if I go into a meditation and I go out into that unboundedness, I fell asleep.
Oops.
And again, yeah, well, this is one of the ones I get a lot because
Yes.
people have meditated quite a bit. They actually do go out into that unbounded, but our capacity to distinguish with our mind the difference between deep sleep and the difference between that and being in that unbounded space, we don't have the capacity to delineate that because we're not there. We're gone in both cases. It's like boom, and by design, that's wonderful. But for the mind, which has to try and catch up, going, what just happened? It's sitting there going, oh yeah.
Because some people are like, well, did I even meditate? If they
Oh,
fell asleep,
I
does
didn't
that
meditate.
even
I was
count?
sleeping. I was sleeping. And to that response, I go, okay, here's the difference. Here's how, again, this gets back to the pre-check, post-check. When you get to the post-check after the meditation and you're up moving around, ask yourself this question. Do I feel restfully alert? Am I in a space kind of like in the world, but not of the world?
Mhm.
Or do I feel kind of groggy, foggy, kind of like I was in a deep sleep and I came out of it? And if I'm in that groggy, foggy stuff, yeah, I fell asleep. If I'm in that restfully alert space, I was in the transcendent. I was in the unbounded. And I came out of it. And it was, you don't need to know what happened there. It is its own fullness and its own experience. As soon as we try to put mind labels on that experience, we've lost it.
Right, because that was a
It brings you
flight
right
of the
out of it.
soul that was happening during that
Exactly.
time.
And it's way out beyond our mind's capacity to relate to it. That's a blessing.
Well, then I should probably
Trying to
put this.
pack the universe into this little planet, right? Like, oh yeah,
I
no, it
should
doesn't
probably
work that
ask
way.
this question now then, because a lot of people ask, what is the best time of day to meditate?
Mm-hmm.
Because some people are like, well, if I do it this time, I'll fall asleep. And if I do it this time, my mind's too active in another way. And so, do
Mm-hmm.
you have an opinion or a suggestion for people who say that?
I tell people you have to find a pattern that works for you. Okay, now I'll give you some examples. If you are a person that can just start your day with it and you have the time or can, excuse me, make the time for it easily, you don't have a lot of children to put on a school bus in the morning, you don't have uh, uh, other things going on in the household that are just busy, crazy in the morning, and you don't have time, and you got to get yourself out the door too. That may be a very difficult time to meditate. It may be where you sit for 5 or 10 minutes prior to everybody else in the chaos of the household. Uh, if that you can get even 5 or 10 minutes in, then it's great. If you can't, oh well, you get on your day. But at the end of the day, if you that's when you need to do it if you're in that kind of lifestyle situation where you can discharge the stresses, the fatigues, all the things that you've accumulated over the course of a day. So
Mhm.
that before you go to sleep at night, you have unloaded that stress from your nervous system, your whole body. And that is rejuvenating in and of itself.
Mhm.
And you will feel that difference. sometimes in the morning after a night of sleep, it's like, yeah, my mind goes into busy brain. I got the kids going here, I got this going there, this and that and the other, da 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 da. And it can be very productive, but it can also be very busy meditation as a result. And that's one that people oftentimes think, well, I didn't meditate, I was just busy the whole time. Well, again, pre-check, post-check, you might get up and go, well, I'm in better shape than before I sat down. Even though I had a good night of sleep, I still feel very clear-headed right now. So off I go into the day and the busyness. But the end of the day can be very helpful. Now, where that carves out in your schedule is before dinner. Is it in the evening sometime? All of those things kind of have to depend on your lifestyle, your family dynamic, your household situation, your commitments outside of work, socially, etc. There's so many factors in our modern life. It's not so simple anymore. And I wish in some levels for people there was more simplicity, but that's just not the world we live in. It is not. I remember when our youngest son was in high school, he had scouts, he had hockey, he had, friends to visit with. We were just constantly on the go. Of course, Elaine and I had things. I had my work, she had hers. So it was like boom, 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 all over the place, right? So it was challenging, very challenging, and we got through it. You found the time, especially in the evening after Jason was in bed. Yeah, get a little quiet time, just sit and be still for a while and do a meditation. So yeah, it is a challenge. I wish there was a formula. There's not. If I gave you a formula, people would go, oh, I blew the formula, so I'm not really meditating, So it's a catch-22, Willa, on that level.
Well, I have to say, I'm a big fan of doing a little bit of smaller meditations throughout a day if a
Mm-hmm.
person's busy.
Yeah.
Instead of going, oh my gosh, I'm going to do I have to sit down for 30 minutes when I'm racing around trying to do these other things, or somebody's knocking at the
Yeah.
door, or my phone, or whatever is happening. But I think that if you could just take maybe 3 minutes here and 3 minutes there, or like start in those kind of little um moments of peace that you're giving yourself, you can
Mm-hmm.
actually consider it to be like spiritual food, and you're nibbling on that throughout the
Mm-hmm.
day, and it's sustaining you,
Mm-hmm.
so that you don't have to feel like it's one fell swoop of, oh my goodness, an hour or whatever. It's the daunting trying to
Yeah.
know other people and how long they meditate.
Right. Right.
So don't get in any competition. Get into that place of what's
Yeah.
doable for you, and
Mm-hmm.
getting into, like, I would say micro meditations are really helpful for certain people at different
Mm-hmm.
phases of their life, especially if they're a busy householder, as you were describing.
Yeah. Yeah. That can work. I would also recommend though that you block out some time later in your day or before the beginning of
Yes.
your day, whatever, that you get a block of time, even if it's 10 minutes,
Yes.
you know. And I tell people, where can you find 10 minutes in your day? Where can you find 10, 15 minutes? We can find lots of time to do scrolling, right?
That's
We can
right.
find lots of time to do large distractions. One of my students in my recent class says, when I charged them with putting their schedule together, their meditation program together, she came back with, "Yep, I figured it out. Meditation is going to become my new distraction."
Well, there you
I
go.
love that.
A new distraction.
My new favorite distraction.
And I think people need to get used to the idea that they can meditate in their car. They can
Anywhere.
meditate in an office chair. They can meditate on their lunch break. They
Yeah.
can meditate
On a walk.
on a
On a walk.
walk. Walking meditation, as we talked about in
Mhm.
prior episode, is absolutely a very valid thing, and
Yeah.
is helpful in a meditation routine as well.
The other thing that too is you can that what I mentioned earlier today about paying attention to that still point in between the in and out flow of the breath, and you can do that while you're doing anything.
Mhm.
Quite frankly, it's
Yeah.
it's just a moment of just yep, there it is. Boom, boom.
Boom.
Just let's let it drop in and just become aware. that can be very changing too, life changing as well, just because it causes you to, it gets into a habit of pausing before you react to everything.
Yes.
It interrupts the almost incessant need to be drive, and pause, drive, pause, drive, pause, drive. It's kind of in the old cars when we had gear shifts, clutches. It's like putting the clutch in just for a
Driving
moment.
standard. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's how I learned to drive
yep. I
standard.
did too. Yeah.
So I always think of meditation as a beautiful way to reconnect with my soul's rhythm.
Mhm.
And in the old days, churches would have the bells ring on the hour, or at certain points of the day, and it would be an opportunity for people to pause in their day and kind of lift up and raise their vibration and realign their conscious awareness with the divine. And I would encourage people, notice if there are certain bells in your life, whether they're church bells or some other, if there's a sound that you could start to build or construct some of meditation moments, shall we say, around, that would be,
Mhm.
I hear the call of God, infinite intelligence at this moment. I'm going to pause and take that moment in my day, whether it be for prayer or for meditation. I think it's an
Yeah,
opportunity.
both. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. And the next thing too is, excuse me, this bronchitis clearing thing going on is good. I'm making great progress. But some days
Yes.
you just sit there and go, I can't wait for spring.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the other thing I want to talk about is the post meditation period. Do that post check, but it's also an ideal time for prayer, for sending healing prayer, for healing for yourself, for creative writing, spirit writing, um, art in its many forms, music. It's a great space because instead of being filled with distractions and being pulled hither and thither, you can focus your mind better in that stillness post meditation. That's a very powerful space. It's a very powerful moment. And it's also a great time to read sacred literature because the meanings jump off the page at you in ways they don't normally jump off the page. It's just you're reading through it. Yeah, whatever. But when you're in that other space, it's like, oh, whoa, yeah, that's resonating with me.
You're right. There's a difference between meditating for calm and meditating for awakening.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
when you've been meditating, you're in that still point, and you do look at spiritual literature, like you say, it's all of a sudden you have such a responsiveness to the words, the vibratory
Mhm.
frequency of those words, as you said, leap off the page, and you can feel them in your own soul reverberating as truth.
Yeah,
And it helps
yeah.
us to realign. And that's very much part of spiritual food as well. And also how
Mhm.
to listen to what your soul is asking for right now.
And what it might be trying to get through you
Yeah.
to you.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So I guess, in part, a person's intention will shape their meditation practice.
Mhm.
And people have to decide what their intention is with this. Or
Mhm.
is their intention to really understand how to be comfortable with the flow and focus in a different way than they're used to in their busy lives. And so there's
Mhm.
a necessity of letting go of some of that emotional resistance and
Mhm.
mental chatter, the monkey mind, right?
Yep.
And there's also some people will meditate and they'll be like, well, nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. Because they're used to the
Gotta be
TV being
entertained.
on.
Gotta be entertained, right? Yeah.
So what do you tell the people who are like, nothing's happening?
I said, gee, how fortunate for you. If you need entertainment, watch a movie afterwards. If you put on a podcast afterwards, do something that entertains you. Do you? And then I ask them the question: do you always need to be entertained?
Right.
My granddaughters, when they say to me, "Papa, we're bored," and I go, "That's not my problem. Turn your imagination on, or find something else to put your attention on." And like, okay, and then they go away because it's like I'm not taking responsibility for their lack of entertainment in a meditation. And I'm
Right.
not taking responsibility for my granddaughter's boredom. Opposite ends of the same spectrum to me. You know what I'm saying? It's like, excuse me, but we don't always have to be entertained. And
That's
we
great.
and you know, so many. I'll say this: I've seen worship services in some of the larger mega churches,
Yeah.
which are all about entertaining people. There's not a moment of silence in them, and it's sad. One of the things I love about the spiritualist traditions and spiritualist churches is there's almost always a meditation period. There's almost always a silent time, even
Mhm.
if it's for a couple minutes. It's enough to say, "Hey, I don't have to be entertained right here, right now. Here's that moment where the stillness can be experienced, and I can just settle into it, settle into myself, settle into the quiet, and not have to be having my mind dragged hither, thither, and yon." Here's the downside to entertainment. Entertainment is secondary experience.
Mhm.
Somebody else is pre-programmed where your mind's going.
Yes.
Okay. Meditation is primary experience. It's where you're going. You
Mhm.
direct. Somebody
Mhm.
else doesn't do it for you. And that is one of my key messages these days is in the world we're living in is we are so vulnerable to where other people's narratives want to take us in secondary experience.
Yeah. Entrainment.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah.
And
And I
entertainment does that.
that it's getting comfortable with your own thoughts. It's not about stopping them, your own thoughts. It's about changing your relationship to your thoughts
Yeah.
in that meditation practice. And it's not about feeling peaceful every time that you meditate. That's not always like the post check. It might not always be peaceful when you get to the post check, right? It could
It will
be,
be what it'll be is different than the pre-check. It will always be different. What it is only thing that matters is how's it different?
mhm,
How's it
mhm,
different? Pay attention how it's different. Because meditation as an exercise is not for the sake of itself. It's for the sake of how's it influencing how I'm walking around the day.
mhm.
And you can't know that by one-offs, a one-off here, one-off there. You've got to have a disciplined practice where you get into a routine of it. And then you'll start to see the real shifts in the walkabout
That's
of your
true.
life. That's where you'll
That's
see it.
true. You can
Yeah.
actually start to track the subtle benefits of meditation, whether you notice you have better sleep, you have better
Mm-hmm.
clarity, better intuition, better patience with other people,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and or yourself. And so track those subtle benefits. I'm not saying you need to make a spreadsheet, but just sort of take note of what's happening and that you can build accountability for yourself just by saying, I know, not because Mark and Willa have talked about how important meditation is and getting back on the wagon is, but I know that I want to have an opportunity to really practice that deeper connection with my soul and with God. If you start to look at it that way, you're going,
Mm-hmm.
of course I should make time for this.
Yeah. It's self-reinforcing.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Now,
At that point. Yeah.
do you think it's a good idea for people to rotate styles of meditation in order to keep their practice alive? Do you feel that that
Only
is?
if they need to.
Mhm.
If you don't need to, don't do it. If you feel like you're in a rut and you want to try something different, okay, fine. But if you feel like it's moving along and you're getting the effects in your day-to-day life, I would say stay with something that works. Here's why. It's like when you get close to a meal time, your body starts to let you know you're hungry. Well, if you get into a routine, a disciplined routine with meditation, that each pretty much around the same time of day you sit to meditate, your body gets used to that too. And so you're halfway home before you sit down once you say, oh, it's time to sit down and meditate. Okay, it's meditation time. And before you sit down, do some pre-check, a little breathing. You're already halfway home into the quiet. And so I recommend people get to regularity and discipline of practice so that you get the biggest benefit. Is it absolutely necessary? No, it's not. It's not a requirement, but you want to help yourself get where you need to go? Yeah, it can be a very good tool.
Yeah, I that's an excellent point. Mind, body, spirit, you're aligning for that purpose of meditation. It's what I tell my mediumship students too. The more, you have a weekly practice, we have circle every week, the more you're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh my gosh, I miss circle if I don't go because I am revved up to talk to spirit. So if you miss your meditation routine, you'll feel like, oh, I don't feel quite right. I better sit and meditate. There, you'll
Yeah,
get to that
good.
point where your body system, your energetic system will crave to do it.
Yeah, true. One of the interesting things somebody said recently, I'm all wound up these days. Right, right, right. I said, well, that's really hard to deal with sometimes. Oh yeah, I wish I could just calm down. Right, right. I said, well, you ever get home? I said, where's your stress? Oh, it's at work. I said, okay, you ever get home from work and you have that moment where, you're right, 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 and all of a sudden you just kind of go, oh, jeez, I'm home now. I can do something else or whatever. But there's that letdown moment, right? Where you just kind of like, I had it. I call it the Popeye moment. I've had all I can stand and I can't stand it no more. For those of us that remember Popeye. So uh, the I tell them that's the perfect moment to just sit after you do the boom. It just now don't just charge into the next round of activities, whatever those are that are different. Just give yourself that moment to sit down, have 5 or 10 minutes even of stillness, of meditation, however you like to do it, just so you really discharge it, not just whoa, let down from, okay, I don't have to deal with that right now, to really use that as a break point, an interrupter point, but take it to that next step of, okay, here's the perfect moment to insert a meditative moment.
Yes.
Perfect moment. Because I've already started the letdown. As soon as I started that letdown, my body and my mind would go, yeah, let's go for the next piece of this to really let it go.
I like that. I think that's very useful for people when they're
Yeah,
going through those kinds of day transitions in their day. It can be the moment that happens.
grab it.
Yeah. Grab it with both hands and
Yeah.
know that that's what you need. That's what you might need
Boom. Yeah.
at that particular stage of the day.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think a lot of people meditate these days. So even if you are in a public place, let's say you are sitting at the dentist or the doctor's office or some other appointment that you have and you're waiting, you can absolutely be meditating.
Mhm. I've done that many times,
Yes.
especially dentist office. Not my favorite place to go, and I have a delightful dentist, but I got to tell you, there are times where I just, okay, need to sit and meditate for a little bit before I do this.
I had another question. Do you feel that meditation, the
Excuse me.
kind or the quality of meditation changes depending on what stage you are in your life or what stage you are in your soul progression? What are your thoughts
Or
to
all of the above. Yeah, definitely. I don't meditate like I did when I was younger. In between marriages, I was single and had lots of time to meditate. So I was doing 3 hours a day, hour and a half in the morning, hour and a half in the evening. I couldn't even, and then I got married and had children, had a child, and that's like fantasy land, right? It ain't happening.
first?
And and then Jason moved out of the nest, so Elaine and I had more time, so I was back to more regular practice at certain times of day, and now that she's not here and life's in a different era again, elder, I'm retired, so to speak. I still have all the church responsibilities, but my government work is all done.
Mhm.
It's a different era of life, and so I have time to study more. I have time to read the text longer after a meditation. I have time to dwell on things that are spiritual nature, and I'm taking advantage of that at this stage of my life. To have expected that of myself in a younger set of years when I was working a very heavy schedule and family commitments and so forth, that would have been laying a trip on myself, which would have been absolutely miserable. And I would never have continued meditating during that if I was laying that trip on myself. If I should be doing it like I was when I was single. Well, and they're going to have to move around my schedule. Oh, get over it.
So
It's
true,
like,
100% on that.
yeah,
Yes.
it's like that's about as self-centered as you can get, right? It's like life happens and you got to roll with it. So, but yes, it does shift. Well, it shifts so much at different stages of life when there's different things that we're committed to and demands that are placed upon us by children and senior parents or whatever else we got going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's time that you balance these things out wherever you are at that stage of life. So meditation doesn't become a foe, it's your friend.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. And it's one of those friends that even if you haven't seen them for a while, they're so happy to see you. It picks up exactly where it did before. It's that kind of friend.
And that's right.
Yeah, which is so
Yeah.
delicious. What are some
Yeah.
other points that you feel are important to share with folks today? I know.
Oh my goodness. Excuse me. This darn bronchitis. I'm getting close to the end of my medication for it, and it's still clearing out all the gunk. So I sound worse than I feel.
That's right, because you look good. Yeah.
I feel fine. I get up and about and stuff. But let's see what else. The whole idea of practicing meditation. Lots of people think that I'm doing it for stress relief. Okay, and it does that. And some people say, "Well, I'm doing it to have a health benefit." It does that. All those things are, if you will, byproducts of a process. One of the great mystic teachings of no matter what tradition you're talking about from around the world, folks have always taught that it's the nearness to the silence and the bringing that silence up is it enriches your life on all levels. Now, most of the mystics will realize and will teach that the physical things are all transient. And so, it'll help you move through this transient part of life. But a lot of those mystics weren't householders like you and I and the rest of the people watching these videos. It's like our walk, our spiritual walk is that everyday thing, right?
Mm.
It's the kids, it's the household, it's the job, it's this, it's that. All of the higher level and lower level demands that are placed upon us and how we react to those things, how we respond to the needs of other people in our environment. And not that what we get out of, but what we just give. It's in the Bhagavad Gita, it talks about karma yoga is not like I sow what I reap. That's like the real westernized way to look at it. It's really about selfless service. And so those of us that are householders, we have a demand on us which is our walk. Our spiritual walk is our day-to-day activity. It's not what we do on Sunday. It's not what we do when we sit down to meditate. It's not what we do when we do healing on people or mediumships, readings or whatever. Those are practices we engage in that are all part of our service to other people. They are not our spiritual walk in and of themselves. They are only a component of it. And they don't make us any better or any worse for what we do. It's just a way in which we work out what we're here to accomplish. And what we're called to do. So I always like to help people when they wrestle with this questions about meditation is meditation as an end unto itself is putting way too much expectation on a process which should never be put in that light. It is a means to help us fulfill a more complete, a more holistic approach to our lives. And that will work out as body, mind, and spirit. Will it relieve stress? Oh, yeah. Will it bring health benefits with it? Oh, yeah. Will it help us with our relationships with our family and our peers? Oh, it can do that. It can do all these other things. Those are the outer manifestations of a shift on the inner plane of life that we're bringing about. And the quickest way I know to bring about that holistic growth from the inside out that feeds all aspects of our household or spiritual walk is meditative process, the meditation itself. We don't get to direct how that works. We just got to show up and let it happen. And I think that's so important because people place so many expectations on what meditation should do and be. It's like, that is so Western. It is just so, it's so materialistic, quite frankly. It's all based on what I can see with my senses, with my eyes and hear with my ears and, taste, touch, smell, all of those. It's like, I got to be able to measure it somehow or it's not real. That's the kind of the modern materialistic world we live in. This is just the antithesis of that. If you pay attention to the inner, the outer will, in fact, enrich. But you got to take care of the inner first. And it doesn't require you to go off to a cave in the Rockies or the Himalayas or wherever in order to pitch everything to become a saint-like person. No, all it requires is, with a householder walk, it requires a little bit of commitment, a little discipline, even 15 minutes a day, if you have to break that up like you were talking about or some other formula. But that's going to transform your life from the inside out. And I think that is so crucial that people put that realistic set of expectations on a meditative practice.
Yes, I agree with everything you just said. And I especially see this in the light of when people are meditating, they can get very irked by every sound they hear, anything that's going on in the external environment and the effect that seems to be happening, the jarring effect that's happening on the inside. And when I think about how people can be so sensitive, especially in our walk of life, we are sensitive and we meet so many sensitives. There is another part of the meditation practice that you start to not get so uh, head up about what's happening externally. You're only focused on what is happening on an internal level. It actually brings you to a place of spiritual poise.
Truly, it's a good word
And
for it.
then that is what you can illuminate into the rest of the world once you've established that within yourself, once
Yeah.
you know where that lives in you and you get used to having an amazing relationship with your soul, then you'll start to process those what used to be irritations in a very different way.
Yeah. True. Very, very true.
So
Yeah.
lovely.
Yep.
Any other things you think we should share, or do you want to go ahead and do a guided meditation for folks?
Let's do a meditation for a little bit. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Right. That's lovely.
Excuse me. Mm. All right. All right. Let's do that pre-check moment. Let's just check in. Where's the body right now? I know where mine is. I got this thing going on in my chest, and but the rest of me feels pretty darn good right now. And I'm coming into this meditation after a delightful conversation with you, Willa, and enjoy the kindred approach to this. And I'm sitting in my home here, and it's a comfortable space for me. I invite you to do the same yourselves. Where are you in this moment? Take a little time to appreciate stuff where you're carrying tension or relaxation, joy, busyness. What's going on with you? Notice where you do carry what you're carrying. Where is it in the body? Spirituality we have is an embodied one. So paying attention to what we're carrying and how we're carrying it, it does matter. Appreciate it, not to push it away, but just to notice for a moment. Second part here, let's move into a breathing exercise where we take a really deep breath in. I call it the Buddha belly breath, where you let your belly go out. It's a deep abdominal breath, with a long, slow, full exhale. And another one or two of those. And while we're doing that, if you would simply notice that there's a still point in between the in and the outflow of your breath. Just notice it. Don't do anything with it, just notice it. That deep belly breath. Now let your breathing continue that way, but also expand so it feels like your chest is expanding both to the sides and to the front and back. Getting the full chest breath as well as the belly, deep belly breath. And you have a couple long lobes that go up underneath your collarbones. I want you to fill those along with the chest expansion and the belly expansion breath. So you got a hugely deep breath. Noticing that still point in between the in and the out flow of the breath. And allow your breath to settle into a comfortable rhythm and depth. Whatever comfort feels like you, to you. Now, using a focal point of a sound or a mantra you may have, to listen to, alternating that with any of the thoughts or body awarenesses that you have, emotions, alternating them back and forth, not pressuring them out or in, just allowing the focal point to drop in edgewise amongst all the other train of thought or awareness you have. And it's good. Back and forth. It could also be just continue to pay attention to the in and the outflow of the breath and the still point, maybe even. At least paying attention to the in and the outflow of the breath if you choose that as a focal point. You can do so, all of that now. We enter into this moment of meditation with a feeling of gratitude. Gratitude for the wonders of this world where we can electronically be together and diminish this concept of space and time. And at any time, We choose to go to the silence within. It is always there. And when we are there, we are all one. It's a universal spot. And in that space is stillness. We can allow ourselves that moment of stillness. And when the mind brings us back to other activity, we go back and forth. Allowing it to all just be. And now, knowing that you can return to this quiet at any time, it is always there. It is already waiting and available to receive you. We bring ourselves back to this waking awareness. Might want to start with moving your hands, your feet, shifting your breathing, moving your hands and your arms and your feet up into your legs, and stretch a little bit and bring yourself around. Lastly, opening your eyes. And we're back.
It was beautiful. Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome. Glad to do it. And it's a lovely thing. It's a great moment in the day.
It is. It's a moment that we fully let our soul have free reign.
We get out of the way.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that guided grounding meditation. And you got the pre-check in there and
Now we
everything.
got the post check. We got it
Oh,
when you get in. What I'll tell you, people who are watching this, is that you need to now get up and move around a little bit and notice the difference between the pre and the post. Once you're up moving around, pay attention to that moment, because that's where the value and the benefit of meditation plays out. And that will be your greatest motivator to stay disciplined with a practice that brings you so much.
mm. Very, very true. That's so lovely. Yeah, so that was it's a great way to maintain and reestablish a meditation practice. And as you were saying earlier, Mark, it's okay that people go through an ebb and a flow with it. It's nice if you can have it be so regular, but it's understandable that other things come along, but making sure you have this time, this block of time. It really is a shared reflection with the divine that you're having in those moments. And it's truly an invitation to practice presence with God. Very
True.
well. I know we should close out for this episode. Any last thought that you'd like to share with our listeners and viewers today?
Just thank you. Thank you for watching, and thank you for getting back to a practice of meditation. We all need us all pulling at the oars together. And no matter how you do it, just the fact that you are doing it really does matter.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Mark. This has been wonderful. I know a lot of people are needing this right now. And even if this is a podcast episode that you find years from now, like a beautiful time capsule, just know you can always re-listen or reawaken and find what is the correct meditation rhythm for you. Don't lose heart. Know that you're going to step into grace with yourself and with your practice. And just a couple of brief announcements. I do right now have a free meditation on my website if anybody's interested. It's called Reaching the Next Space of Light. And so that understanding of coming off of the winter and can be that almost like a season of darkness that we've been in and moving more into the light. And so using that metaphorically, but it's a guided meditation that's free on my website. I do have other meditations on there as well. And I'm very excited that the next round of my Leadership Development Circle classes is starting on April 6th. So please join us. It's a 6-week circle series, and each week I have a different leadership development practice that we will do. There's a lesson and also the opportunity to be in breakout sessions with partners, with other people, and start to evolve your mediumship in that way. I have to say, I think I have the best students because I have an amazing core group of folks that come every week and have been learning and growing. And it is open to all levels. And some people have their mediumship circles very designated. I like a one-room schoolhouse. I think it's really beautiful to see what happens with the beginner, intermediate, and advanced all together. That way, two beginners aren't just looking at each other going, now what? And if you have to miss a week, that's okay. I do video the lesson so you can watch it later. And it's just a really accessible place to learn mediumship. I feel a mediumship development circle is one of the best ways to develop your mediumship because just like with meditation, mediumship is something that you need to practice, fine tune, and mind, body, spirit align yourself with. So great group to work with. Definitely looking forward to the spring. All right. Well, without further ado, we'll close out this episode and please tune in next week where I'll have another great guest and topic for you on Wednesdays with Will. And thank you again, Mark, for being here today. Bye bye, everyone. Like, share, subscribe, follow, all the good things.